In today's video, we're going to take a look at the best Bryan and Mbeumo replacements and also the key Chelsea assets you need to be looking to buy in Game Week 16. And starting off today's video, we are going to start off with the most pressing issue for a lot of FPL managers. It is the fact that Bryan and Mbeumo might be injured. I am filming this after all the games on Wednesday night. He did limp off in the first half. It didn't look too good. And with games coming very, very quick over the next few game weeks, I think it is time to potentially remove Bryan and Mbeumo. Obviously, if we do get positive news around him, I think he is definitely a keep. But with it being such a tight turnaround until Game Week 16, I do think he will miss out on that Sheffield United fixture. So for today's video, I have put together some potential replacements that I am looking for Bryan and Mbeumo. We're going to start off with Hwang from Wolves, Hwang Hee-chan, in absolute stellar form at the moment for him. 2 goals, 1 assist over the past 5 game weeks. And as you can see, really good underlying data to go with that as well. Super low owned and at a bargain bottom price of 5.7 million. The only thing with Wolves that potentially puts me off this guy is the fixtures aren't great. Now, they've got Nottingham Forest at home, which could be an absolute banker, or Steve Cooper might get sacked and we potentially could have a new manager bounce. That is always something that does seem to happen in FPL. It's not a thing, but I would still expect Wolves to potentially comfortably win that game, especially if Steve Cooper is still in charge. Then West Ham the week after. Again, that result feels like it could go either way. Chelsea at home. Again, I feel Wolves could get a positive result out of that one. Chelsea defensively on a very good side. They conceded 4 XG in the Manchester United game today. Looked a little bit shambolic at times as well, all over the back line. Then Brentford, then Everton. So there's kind of like some very mixed fixtures in there. I would say Wolves are probably favourite for probably the Nottingham Forest and the Everton at home fixtures. But then the other ones could easily go either way. So not kind of high quality games for Hwang to potentially get his teeth into. But I do think with the price that he's at, the super low ownership and the good data that he's putting in and the fact that he's on penalties, and you know how much I love that as a potential asset, I can see why a lot of people could potentially be bringing in Hwang this week, and I don't think it is a bad option, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely up there, one to consider, but I would just be a little bit cautious about the fixtures coming up for Wolves. Moving on to the next option, and it is Kudos from West Ham. Some really good fixtures coming up for them in the next 2. Fulham and Wolves, then it's United and Arsenal. So again, bit of a mixed bag for him and West Ham. But as you can see over the past 5 game weeks, has been absolutely smashing it out of the park. 2 goals, 3 assists. Good underlying data to go with that as well. 32 points, the second highest on this list as well. 3.3% owned for him. So again, even bigger differential than Hwang Hee-chan. Obviously, West Ham are yet to play in Game Week 15, so do make sure if you are going to bring him that he actually gets through that Spurs game first. Maybe he might bag it another goal, put in another impressive performance. That potentially could lead to you going out and buying him with the Fulham and Wolves fixtures coming up. But after that, they do kind of tail off a little bit. So I think, again, this one would be very much a short-sighted move. Kind of trying to catch on a player who's in a purple patch of form. That's how it kind of feels with him and Hwang at the moment. Moving on to a player that I think I'm going to go for, and I feel a player that has the potential to kind of get a bit more longevity with his point scoring. It is Anthony Gordon. Now, Tottenham away in Game Week 16 isn't the easiest of fixtures, but after that, Fulham, Luton and Nottingham Forest, some amazing fixtures, and some of the performances he's putting against top 6 sides as well. When those fixtures do turn, Liverpool and City and Villa, I still think he is a great asset to have because we've shown, well, he's proved it. He's proved it already in the big games. This man can perform and can deliver as well. 3 goals, 1 assist for him, the highest point scorer, and very similar to Kudos though, do make sure that he does play. Obviously is currently flagged in the game as he is yet to feature on the pitch, so FPL don't know if he's actually fit or not, but he's been pictured in training numerous times so far this week, so I do expect him to play in the game against Everton, his former club, tomorrow evening. So just keep an eye out on that one before you potentially do go and bring in Anthony Gordon, but I do expect him to potentially get a price increase and ownership spike as well, with some really good fixtures coming up for Newcastle. The only thing to note with this one is the fact that Newcastle have the Carabao Cup fixtures and important Champions League ties around those positive fixtures. So maybe we could see some rotation with Harvey Barnes and other players like that coming back into the Newcastle side as well. Maybe Anthony Gordon might miss out on a few of those positive fixtures, which is not always ideal, especially when we're wanting like him to play every single week like we did with Bryan Mbeumo. Moving on to arguably one of my favourite assets, if I didn't already own him, it is Cole Palmer. As you can see, has the best underlying data on this list. Rock bottom price at 5.3 million. Don't expect that to stick around for kind of a long period of time. Amazing fixtures coming up for Chelsea up until around game week 24. We will touch on that a little bit more, and Cole Palmer a little bit more in the next section, but I definitely think he is up there as one of the top Bryan Mbeumo replacements to go out and buy this game week. A scintillating goal against Manchester United tonight, and with Chelsea having good underlying attacking data, I definitely think with these positive fixtures, Cole Palmer and the Chelsea boys should do nicely over the next few game weeks. Now, the final player that I'm going to include is Phil Foden. A little bit of a different one. I've seen a few people potentially mention him on Twitter. Now, the reason for this is the fact that Manchester City do have some good fixtures. They have the blank, so you'd still be kind of expecting that as you were with Bryan Mbeumo. Have the blank in game week 18, but it's Luton, Palace, blank, Everton, Sheffield United, Newcastle and Burnley. Some absolutely stupendous fixtures in there for Phil Foden, and it does seem like he's starting to work his way back into Pep Guardiola's kind of main side at the moment. That's the way it seems. Started the game at Villa, did come off a little bit early, but you know, before that, some very positive and encouraging performance. Scored at the weekend as well. 2 goals as you can see here. Obviously with him, I do think it is a minutes risk, but the fixtures are definitely there, and sometimes when you bank on Foden, it goes extremely well, as I've seen in previous seasons. When you kind of catch him at the right time, you get him for the positive fixtures and he absolutely slaps. It is a goldmine on FPL, but at the same time, it could be a trap. He could, you know, not play in those games. You've also got the blank in there as well, coming off the bench for 1-pointers, not picking up goals. Yeah, he's a little bit of a trap, but I think if you want to go for something a little bit spicy, maybe risk it up, maybe you need that kind of rank booster. There's some really good fixtures in there for Manchester City. Still the double potentially in game week 20. It's not looking likely now. I feel they would have announced it kind of before this point, but it's still kind of in the remits, and I think if that does get announced, I would be a lot more appetized potentially going for Phil Foden. So they're my top replacements for Mbeumo. Obviously, there are other assets that we actually will come on to talk about in the next section, where we are going to discuss the best Chelsea assets you should be buying for game week 16. In game week 16, Chelsea have one of the most ridiculous fixture swings I think we will ever see in FPL history. As you can see, these fixtures are incredible all the way up until game week 24. Game week 22, Liverpool away. It's not the best, but looking at some of the teams that they're playing, Everton down in the bottom 3, Sheffield United down in the bottom 3, Crystal Palace are, you know, bottom half of the table, haven't won in a few games now as well. Pressure building on Roy Hodgson. They're in there twice as well. I know Fulham have been putting in some positive performances, but still very leaky at the back as well. Wolves are probably another kind of a little bit of a difficult side, but you definitely could see them conceding some chances against Chelsea. So an absolutely incredible, phenomenal at times fixture on this. I don't think we will ever see a fixture swing like this in FPL history ever again. It's absolutely ridiculous. Plenty of 2s, as you can see along the board here. The Liverpool game, it is what it is, but there's still plenty of positive fixtures to be attacking during this run. As you can see as well, Chelsea sit 3rd for XG in the league at the moment, so definitely attackers should be on the menu. 12th for XG conceded, not the best, but you would hope during this positive run that they could pick up a few clean sheets, and with them having some really kind of reasonably priced defensive assets and a lot of the other defensive assets within the game not really performing at the moment, they could offer themselves as a potential option. So let's go and take a look at some of the players that I'm going to recommend for you. I've put 4 on this list. There is definitely more that you could go for, especially in the defensive areas and especially in the attacking areas as well. There is one key player that I think could make his way and may kind of shockwaves through the Premier League with this fixture run, and that is in Cuckoo. But obviously with him not being in the squad, not yet kind of showing what he's capable of, I don't think it would be kind of wise as a kind of content creator and kind of influencer in the FPL space. We're gonna class myself as that now. You know, people buying Craig Dawson off the back of what I'm saying, so we're gonna say it. I wouldn't kind of sleep comfortably if I recommended Nkunku, so I'm not gonna do that to you guys. I am, however, gonna recommend Nicholas Jackson as a potential player that I would look for. I think if he went for Darwin, he does offer himself as a great transfer, a get out of jail kind of free kind of player. Like we spoke about, the fixtures are absolutely immense. Yes, he is still a donkey like the last time we all bought him and we all owned him earlier in the season, but as you can see over the past 5 game weeks, has been putting in some really good numbers. 4 goals, 1 assist, and the XGI is absolutely phenomenal, as it was earlier in the season. We saw this. He can accumulate that kind of underlying data, very similar to Darwin Núñez, but kind of chance conversion, he does lack that. But at 6.9 million, like I said, I do think it offers himself as a good Darwin replacement. Super low owned as well. If you can jump on him early for this train before other people potentially catch wind, you know, maybe you get that Everton and that Sheffield United fixture and he absolutely slaps, he could be a major differential for you and your rank this week and in future weeks as well. So I definitely think Jackson could pose himself as a potential option. But with Brozier coming back in the squad and Cuckoo as well, could see his minutes potentially limited if he doesn't kind of find the net early on. So that is a little bit of a risk going for him as well. The other player that I think maybe you could go for, I'm personally not kind of keen on him, is Sterling. Also offers himself up as an Mbeumo replacement as well. I think for the price point, I think I would just rather go for Cole Palmer, to be honest. 7 million does seem a little bit steep for the limited kind of attacking output that you're getting, whereas with Cole Palmer you're going to get the penalties as well. As you can see, underlying data, more goals, cheaper price as well. I imagine his ownership is going to skyrocket as well and start to put himself into that essential conversation as well with good Chelsea fixtures coming up. So I think if you need a midfield option, I think I would go Cole Palmer over potentially Sterling. The double up does offer itself there with the positive fixtures, but I wouldn't be too keen on it. I think there will start to be some rotation within that Chelsea side. I do think Sterling and Palmer will slowly kind of drop in and out of the side at points as well. So I probably wouldn't go for Sterling. I think I would go for Palmer if I was going to go for one of the two. Moving on to defence, like we said, Chelsea are 12th for XG conceded. Not good. They look shambolic at times against United tonight as well. 4 XG conceded in that game as well. Scott McTominay could have had about 8 if he wanted as well. So defensively, not looking too good. The defensive asset that I have picked is Levi Colwill. I think a lot of us will be looking to potentially move on Matty Cash and our Crystal Palace defenders as well, with both of their fixtures kind of taking a little bit of a turn. Matty Cash, obviously now a big rotation risk as well, as we've seen, kind of being left out of Unai Emery's side as well. And with them picking up positive results, he's going to have to fight to get his kind of place back within that side. So Levi Colwill's in here, obviously just returning from injury. That's why he's only picked up 8 points, but 4.5 million definitely does offer himself up as a fantastic option. I think his versatility is one of his main assets as well for an FPL kind of player. The fact that he can play left back and centre back as well does mean when there are injuries, or maybe when Chelsea want to set up in a certain way, I do think he offers himself up as a really, really good option. Obviously there is Reece James, but we saw today he potentially can be benched. He arguably though has the most attacking threat, but the highest risk of being rotated. So a big, big gamble there. Very similar to Foden in the last section. If you want to go for it, I think it has huge upside. But for me personally, I think I've been burnt just one too many times by Reece James. So I'm not going to go down that kind of route and that path yet again, to be honest. I've personally got Thiago Silva. Again, I wish I'd have gone Colwill. I think for the price that I'm paying for Thiago Silva, he's played 90 minutes every single game and does seem to be the key player for Maurizio Pochettino. But I just personally don't think he's justifying his value at the moment for me. I wish I'd have gone Colwill, but it is what it is. And like I said, finished up Cole Palmer. I think we kind of touched on him in the last section. I think if I needed a Bryan Mbeumo replacement, he would be the one that I would go for. If I was looking at any other Chelsea midfielders as well, he would be arguably my top Chelsea asset that I would go for. On penalties, absolutely smashing data and now scoring goals in open play as well. Really key player for Chelsea. That's what it seems to be from kind of my understanding as well. Did miss out last weekend, but I think that was more down to kind of just a precaution rather than him actually being injured. So I'd still back Cole Palmer to do extremely well over this fixture period. So if I were to pick assets, I probably would go Palmer, Jackson, Colwell and Sterling in that order for the 4 that we have on screen. There are other options, so let me know if you're potentially tempted by any of them in the comment section below. If you need any help with your team as well, do get those questions in down below, and we are trying to hit 3,000 subs by the end of the year, so if you want to help me hit that goal, do hit that subscribe button. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck this game week.